that there's other things that cannot achieve it, like speculative knowledge. Speculative knowledge is not a way to achieve it. And that's where we are. Text 7. Can I have the mridanga? And we have a pair of kartals, right? Thank you. Do you know the words, Jai Radha Madhava? No? Vrindavan, can you find that words? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Pijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamanatira Vana Jadi Jamana Tiravana Tari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Ballabha Girivara Dhari Ballabha Girivara Dhari Gopijana Ballabha Girivara Dhari Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamunatira Vanatadi Jamunatira Vanatadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivitagacharya Astatarasatasi Simad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Gora Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is Canto 10, Chapter 14, text number 7. It's the end of a series, and here's the translation of the verse. Brahma is speaking to Krishna. Little boy, 5 years old, looking at Brahma with unblinking eyes and smiling, hearing what Brahma understands about him. He's the personality of Godhead. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, or the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, stars, and other luminaries. But these learned men, among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? So in this verse, Brahma is expressing, he got an answer to his question. His question was, what's the limit of the mystic powers of Krishna? Answer, no limit. By making a material comparison, then these mystic powers and qualities of Krishna, they're spiritual and unlimited. So imagine, the verse is saying, you get somebody so good at understanding how many atoms there are in the earth, or how many particles of snow, how many snowflakes there are, if you can count them all, or maybe even all the parts or radiating molecules, shining radiating molecules of sunshine, moonlight, stars, and all the luminaries in the sky. If you can count all of those, maybe you can count all those. Somebody could be good enough to count all those. That's not possible. But even if they could do that, they could not find a limit to the transcendental qualities of Krishna, unlimited transcendental qualities of Krishna. So there's the answer. Unlimited and not material. That's the message. This is Sanatana Goswami. A little bit of who is Sanatana Goswami. Do you both know who is Lord Chaitanya? Yes, maybe.
He doesn't.
Doesn't know. You know who is Krishna, right? Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Krishna appeared in the previous yuga or age of mankind. Krishna appeared again at the beginning of this Kali Yuga to teach how to surrender to Krishna. The final teaching of Bhagavad Gita place this one principle, surrender to me, in the topmost position, and everything else is subordinate to that one thing. The essence is surrender to Krishna. But then Krishna began to consider, who will know how to do that? It's Kali Yuga. People get all mixed up in Kali Yuga. So best if I come myself and teach them how to surrender to Krishna. Krishna teaching how to surrender to Krishna. So that's Lord Chaitanya. He's appearing as a devotee of Krishna, teaching how to surrender to Krishna. That's Lord Chaitanya. And he established the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra as the principal means. It's called Yoga Dharma, the principal means for this age to achieve spiritual perfection. It's found in scriptures, but he taught and gave example by personal his life, how he conducted his life. That's Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya had many, 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 many wonderful disciples and associates. Chief amongst them were 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They're right here. The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. The last picture over to the right. And the leading one amongst those 6 was Sanatana Goswami. So we're going to read from Sanatana Goswami about this verse from Brahma, 10:14:7. Sanatana Goswami writes, particularly, one cannot understand the extent of your qualities, Krishna, when you appear in this world. Qualities which were previously latent, like and unmanifest, are revealed by you now. Other acharyas said, there are other forms of the Lord that descend in this world called avatars, like Lord Sringadev, Lord Ramachandra, Matsya, Kurma, Parashuram, different avatars. They didn't exhibit all of what Krishna exhibited. And Krishna exhibited everything. So previously, those unlimited qualities of the unlimited weren't fully manifest. You fully manifested them. They are being revealed by you now. You are the life giver of qualities. What that means is, the Sanskrit word is gunatmanaha. So let's say we discussed this at midday. Compassion, or forgiveness, or humility, or kindness, or charity. Those are qualities. And it just remains a notion without a living entity giving it life and exhibiting charity and compassion and forgiveness and tolerance and simplicity. And so a living entity is the giver of life to qualities, and Krishna is the giver of life to living entities. So he is the life giver of qualities. That's one of the words in the verse, gunatmanaha. Once these qualities are manifest, they should be measurable. But who can in detail measure and even count your qualities? No one can. Because you have appeared in the world to give benefit to all the jivas. This is the meaning. That was stated in the first verse of the 7 so far. The first verse is Krishna appears to reciprocate with the love of his devotees. But some people are not devotees. They've forgotten their devotion. They put it somewhere to the side. Krishna is very kind to them also. See, he is the type of person who appears to give benefit to everyone, because supposing someone's a non-devotee and Krishna appears, they get spiritual elevation just by Krishna's presence. So he comes to give that benefit to them. And they may not understand him, but they get benefit anyways. And that's part of his previous commentary. The greatest of his qualities is his mercy. Just like there's 2 qualities of fire. Fire is heat, and fire is light. So wherever there's fire, there's heat and light. So also wherever there's Krishna, there's mercy. He's the giver of life to all qualities, but especially this quality of mercy. So when he appears in this world, he's giving mercy to all living entities. And the reciprocation is very interesting and special for the devotees like him. He's saying, you've shown your mercy to me. I offended you? I kidnapped the cowherd boys and the calves. And still you haven't reprimanded me, but you've shown me mercy. You showed me this, answer to my question, this unlimited opulences. And then you withdrew them, and you showed me that you're the source of all those opulences. And then you showed me your original form. You've just been merciful and merciful and merciful, because that's your nature. So who can understand the limit of your mercy? And who can understand the limit of any of your qualities? It cannot be calculated. That's first paragraph. Second paragraph. The Lord reveals qualities suitable for the benefit of each jiva. The jivas are unlimited, and their natures are unlimited, and their conditions are unlimited. Thus, your qualities that you reveal for each of them are unlimited. It is not possible to count them. No one can count them. The particles of earth, snow, and light are progressively finer. So you may be able to calculate something material that's finite. How many snowflakes are there? Some finite number. You can't practically count them. Or shining particles of light coming from the sun. Who can count them? But if the progression is finer, earth, snow, light. But Krishna is finer than that still. He's all spiritual. And short little commentary from Jiva Goswami, and we're going to go on to the next verse. Jiva Goswami is another one of these 6 Goswamis here. There are 2 brothers. Out of the 6, 2 are brothers, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And Jiva is their nephew. Nephew means they had a 3rd brother. His name was Anupam, and Anupam died when Jiva was very young. So Jiva came to live in Vrindavan with his 2 uncles. He's 1 generation younger than them. But, wonderful Acharya. Jiva Goswami writes, in time, skilled people might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the photons in the sky. But who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the vitalizer of all qualities, you have descended to display those qualities for the benefit of all living entities. You display your qualities by your mercy. So behind the qualities is the biggest one. He's merciful. He's loving. So all other qualities are resting on that one, and they're all transcendental, and they're all unlimited, starting with unlimited mercy. Then comes text 8. Can you get your handheld device? Because the next verse is a very well-known verse. It's found in the Bhagavad Gita Purport, 10:14:8. 10:14:8. You know the verse. You ready? Do you know the verse? Tate nukampam susamikshamano Bunjan evatma kritam mipakam Ridvagvapur bir vididhan namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. A very famous verse, so we'll say it again. tat te nukampam susamikshamano Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam Ridvagvapur bir vidhan namaste Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak Translation, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. This is a verse the devotees in general like a lot, because we all have difficulties from time to time. Something comes up and it's like, whoa, hardship. That's sometimes. And when it comes up, it's a good verse to remember. The picture is Brahma has offered he expressed his regret for what he's done, offered his apology to Krishna, saying, I deserve to be punished, but instead you gave me mercy. You showed me what I wanted to see. You showed me your original form, even beyond what I wanted to see. You're just all mercy. However, so this verse is, and I'm anticipating I'm going to get some reprimand, because what I did was really bad. So I'm going to get some reaction. Instead of pleading to you, oh, please don't make the reaction very severe, or please just neutralize the reaction, rather than, because when we face danger, one of the first things we do is go into problem solving. Uh-oh, what am I going to do about this? So what Brahma is saying in his relationship with Krishna, you know what? I'm not going to try to problem solve. I'm not going to try to plea for leniency. I'm not going to do any of that. Whatever it is that's coming to me for my wrongdoings, I accept. My intelligence is not going to go there. My energy is not going to go there to figure out how to not suffer so much. Whatever I'm deserving, I accept. But instead, I'm going to place my intelligence and my body, mind, and heart in one thing. What's that one thing? Taking shelter of you in your service. And let my mind not be moved one little bit from that position. And the concluding is, for one who does that, one who abides by that principle, is sure to inherit the kingdom of his father. Like in Indian law, in Vedic culture, there's a rule or a law that says the eldest son inherits the property of his father. Did you know that? Like a king, the eldest son of the king becomes the next king. That you know. But so supposing somebody isn't a king, they just have a house. Or whatever, they have the land or whatever they have. They have some gold coins, whatever they have. The eldest son, they don't have to write a will. It's just law. Law progenitor, it's called. It goes to the eldest son. The son has to look after others because he's like the father to the other brothers and sisters. But it goes to the son. And if the father has some debt, that goes to the son. The property of the father goes to the son. That's by law. So similarly, if I just live my life, jiveta is the word, if I live my life abiding by this principle of dedicating myself, body, mind, and words to your service, I'll inherit the property of you, which is the kingdom of God. I'll go back to Godhead. I'll achieve liberation. Because who is Brahma's father? She said, you know who is Brahma, so which Vishnu? Vishnu is Brahma's father, right? Do you know which one? Garbhodakshay Vishnu? His name is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Okay, I won't go into it. There's 3 Vishnus, but so Vishnu is his father, and Vishnu resides in the spiritual world. So if I continue, I, Brahma, continue my life following the path of serving Vishnu, I'll attain the kingdom of Vishnu. I'll go back to Godhead. Now what about you and me? Because we're not sons of Vishnu. But, you know, all living entities are the sons of Vishnu. He's the seed-giving father. It says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham bija, bija means seed. Pratak, pita, pita means father. I'm the seed-giving father. He's our, you know, not immediately we have a mom and a dad, but, you know, the original father is Vishnu. So if we just abide by you and me and all of us, we just live our life in devotion to Krishna. The previous description of living a life in devotion to Krishna is very specific. It's the topics of Krishna. You carry out your duties. You offer those duties to Krishna and dedicate yourself to the topics of Krishna. His name, his fame, his qualities, his pastimes, his loving exchanges, with just like what we're doing right now. If one dedicates their life to that, the topics of Krishna, and dedicate, you do your duties, whatever that is, in your different positions of life, and offer them to Krishna. You're entitled to the property of Vishnu. You're entitled to go back to Godhead. That's what the verse is saying. And that's true even when there's hardship. So we'll say it again, and then we'll read the purport. I'm expecting Krishna's mercy. Why? Because he's merciful. So suppose I did some wrongdoing. Unintentionally, we all do something. We're not flawless people. We make mistakes. So whatever mistakes we make, intentional or unintentional or combination, there's going to be some reaction that comes for them. I'll be very patiently in awaiting the reactions of my misdeeds, whatever that may be. So I'm passing through some misfortune right now. Probably all of us. I'm passing through some misfortune right now. So I'm passing through some misfortune. Now, how do I look at that misfortune? It's coming my way. I'm deserving some misfortune because of misdeeds. So I just accept it's coming. I'm not going to do a workaround, or I'll take practical responsibility, whatever that may look like, for my past misdeeds and the reactions from my past misdeeds. And I'll just be accepting whatever that is. And at the heart level, I'm just going to dedicate myself to Krishna's service, pleasing him, the topics about him, patiently and faithfully carrying on my life that way, with the reassurance that liberation is waiting. That is, making the Krishna connection now will mean the Krishna connection will continue after the body is finished. That's the meaning. It's a big topic because there's difficulties in this world. And how do you handle them? Here's the purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, See, it's just same as I explained. A legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father. Similarly, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regular principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. Paragraph. The word samikshamana, it's in the verse we chanted, indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. It's important when we're going through hardship or something, some trouble, some turbulence, something. COVID, or just the uncertainty of what's going to happen and that whole thing. What's going to happen to my career? What's going to happen with my schoolwork? What's going to happen with anything? There's so much uncertainty, too much. So that's an unpleasant space to be in, and who knows if and when, how long it's going to take for it to get back to normal again. So when we're passing through those kinds of situations or other ones, we're earnestly awaiting the mercy of Krishna, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. That's a verse of Bhagavad Gita 1866. Do you know some Bhagavad Gita verses? Sarvadharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papi. Papa means sin. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, all sinful activities, sinful reactions. I'll take care of them personally. I free you from all sinful reactions. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashami ma suchaha. In case you're not sure, don't worry. Ma suchaha. Don't doubt. Everything's going to be okay. But if you do this one thing, Mam ekam sharanam, take shelter of me. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in kirtan or using our beads or something, it's good to be conscious. I do this personally. Cultivate the consciousness of not just calling the name, but taking shelter of the person. Because the person and the name are now different. Taking shelter of the person by calling the name. And the misdeeds get dissolved. The reactions get dissolved. However, because in his mind, a devotee may still maintain remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee sometimes punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. There's another very nice verse, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 11. You familiar with? There's 4 essential verses in Bhagavad Gita. Starts with 10, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Called the Chatur Sloki verses. So the last of the Chatur Sloki verses says this one. That is, Krishna can make us clean, but what about residual tendency due to prolonged involvement in material life? we all have this experience. We can get some elevation through something, some sankirtan or reading or a festival or Krishna Janmashtami or something. And we feel very, spiritually cleansed inside. And then we go back home. Right? So what's that? It's residual tendency. We're conditioned. So there's the boost or the spiritual elevation through spiritual contact, but we have our residual tendencies. So you can read carefully 10, 11 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna removes that personally. That tendency. He relieves one of that tendency. It's subtle, but he does it from within. Jnana dipena, by the lamp of knowledge. I destroy the darkness. Aham ajnana jam tamaha, the darkness born of ignorance. Tamaha, darkness. Ajnana, ignorance. By light. Darkness is dispelled by light. Ignorance is dispelled by knowledge. But the way to get that to happen is Krishna has to do it, because we're conditioned, we're habituated to something, involvement in matter in a particular way. Krishna will pull us up. That's his commitment. And sometimes his way of pulling us up is to shake us a little bit, like difficulty. There's a really nice interview. Did I send you that interview of Jagatrini and her how to be in Vrindavan even during COVID? You can't go to Vrindavan. How to have your heart in Vrindavan when you're physically not in Vrindavan. Something like that. And she's a very deep person. She expresses that the three most memorable times in my life in Vrindavan were when she had some calamity. One was he had a broken leg, another something, and another something. She had malaria and has down with fever. So the point wasn't, the suffering was delightful, but she was in a place, it wasn't terrible, but she just was helpless. And she felt, in her words, she felt that the soft arms of the Dham embracing her, like a child in the arms of a mother, feeling very comforted. I thought I couldn't do anything. I was helpless. It was that connection that made her feel most wonderful. Nice realization. So sometimes, that's what this purport is saying, and the verse, sometimes Krishna shows special mercy to the devotee to break their conditioning of affinity for matter, the conditioning thing. He just takes it away. And sometimes when he takes it away, it feels like, whoa. Feels like an ordeal, but it's actually just kindness. He's just like a little child that has something detrimental, and the parent takes it away from their hand, and the child cries, ah! But it was detrimental. A piece of broken glass, and you take the broken glass away because they could hurt themselves. So sometimes Krishna does that with his devotees, but what's being said here, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removed the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment Brahma is expecting some punishment. He gets mercy. But if something comes that looks like punishment, it's mercy. It's just to relieve us of that forgetfulness tendency. And therefore, the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. Last paragraph, and then we're done for this evening. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. That's what Brahma, I want to attain you. Therefore, the devotee willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here by the word daya, bhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Pure Lord Krishna without undergoing a rigid purification process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. So we'll be on this verse for some time because it's important. How are we supposed to look at hardship when it comes our way? So, we get up in the morning, we go down the path of our day, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, kaboom, here comes something unexpected. And then sometimes it doesn't go away. It stays and it gets worse. And how are we supposed to handle circumstances like that? That's what this verse is addressing. In Brahma's case, he knows what he did. He kidnapped the coward boys. And, you're in jail if you do something like that. But he's not put in jail, but he's expecting punishment. So when you're expecting punishment or not expecting punishment and something comes, how to process it? Well, it's coming my way due to some past misdeed. I don't recall what that past misdeed is. Or maybe I have some idea, but karma is not always instant. Karma is more often delayed over time. And something takes some time to fructify the reaction to that something. So let me take responsibility for what's coming my way. Here comes this misfortune. And how do I handle it? Well, it's coming my way because of something back there. Something I did that brought this situation coming my way. So now I accept that it's coming my way because of my own actions. Then I can choose how to respond. I don't just have to be a punching bag. I can be, thoughtful and respond in an appropriate manner. As much as intelligence is given to me by Krishna to consider what's an appropriate manner of response. I'll tell a little story, a Prabhupada story, in this connection, and then I'll see if there's some discussion. For a number of years, the New Vrindavan community was conducting a festival of inspiration around Mother's Day weekend. And I attended it many, many years. I was a speaker at the event for many, many years. And they always invited as a keynote speaker a really fantastic person named Peter Burwash. Peter Burwash, by profession, is a motivational speaker. He deals with Fortune 500 companies and travels something like 300 days out of the year and is always in some high-profile something or other, inspirational speaker. But in his heart, he's a surrendered devotee who loves Prabhupada very much. He never became initiated, but during his early days, he was living in Hawaii. He now lives in California. And when he was in Hawaii, he was a trainer of tennis trainers. He had a tennis training school. And he was earning money. So many of us, many of the temple devotees, I didn't live in Hawaii, but temple devotees all around didn't have jobs. They were just doing full-time service for the temple. Although, we could have had, some had jobs, some drove taxi and worked in the social welfare department and did other kinds of jobs in the early days. But Peter had a good paying job. So he donated $500 to the temple. He tells this story. He would tell the story sometime during his keynote speech at the Festival of Inspiration. So I heard it like 8 times. However, when he gave $500 to the temple, which at that time was a lot of money, some days later, the person he gave the money to ran away and took the money. So the next time Prabhupada came to Hawaii, because he spent a fair amount of time because of the weather and so forth, it was a suitable place for him to do his writing. Peter visited him, as he would regularly do, have conversation with him, as he would regularly do, and he brought up, I gave $500 to so-and-so, and he ran away with my money. Didn't know what Prabhupada would say in response. And Prabhupada's response was, his stealing money is not very good, but you should not become implicated in blaming the instrument of your karma. It was very surprising. He made it, it made a big impression on Peter, and Peter saying it 8 times made an impression on me. When some misfortune comes your way, behind the misfortune is your own misdeeds. That's why the misfortune is coming your way. Don't blame the instrument of your misfortune. Someone else can be the instrument, or something else can be the instrument, but what's behind the instrument is the person, and the person is you. Some misdeed, and here comes some misfortune. Now, some people that understand that, they can just become, tolerant, or try to counteract the misfortune of that past misdeed by good deeds, or atonement for past misdeeds, or there's different procedures for dealing with it. But the advice given here is, whatever it is that you do, that's when that misfortune comes, don't depart even the slightest from the dedication of yourself to Krishna service, body, mind, and heart. And that's Krishna consciousness. And if you're Krishna conscious, whatever you're conscious of, that you'll attain Krishna, which is circling back to the very first verse. That's what Brahma wanted. Now he's getting around to, I'm going to get punished, and I accept whatever it is you want to do for punishing me. It's okay. Whatever you feel I deserve, I'll accept it. But one request, let my mind not budge 1 inch from your lotus feet, and so I can stay fixed there. And naturally, protection comes. Protection doesn't mean that the misfortune just evaporates. Poof, it's gone. It may not. But protection doesn't mean Krishna takes away the difficulty. I have a medical issue, or I have some financial issue, or I have a relationship issue, or I have a something issue. It's not like, your bodily pain will go away. Or, and if not, then Krishna is not being merciful. Or whatever it is that's causing you some discomfort. You accept that this is coming from my past deeds, whatever it is that I deserve, I'll accept it. I'll try to make some intelligent going forward plan in terms of my life and the duties, how I carry out the duties of my life. But for sure, one thing, my mind will not budge 1 inch from your lotus feet. That's his message. That's how we are to deal with misfortune when it comes. And there's more to this we'll see as we go along. So to see if there's some discussion, we'll let either of you or both of you say something if you like.
We have it.
Oh, already? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So my question is like out of topic, but I just want to have some details probably. So I read it in Bhagavad Gita as well as in Bhagavatam.
Just a good question. Can you press the button once? Yeah. Press it.
So
You're reading Bhagavad Gita?
yes, I'm taking some class.
You're taking classes in Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
Who's your teacher?
So I'm taking class from Kalpa Mataji.
Okay.
I have one more teacher in Chennai. I'm actually from Chennai.
Okay.
So they take Gita mastery class. So that also I'm taking.
Okay.
So it's like I'm reading both Bhagavad Gita as well as Srimad Bhagavatam I'm taking from Vamsi Prabhu's.
Okay.
So from both the things, what I theoretically think, like theoretically I know like I'm a soul. But practically, I don't have any understanding about the soul. So if I have...
You have understanding, but not realization.
Of course. And I don't have a realization of like I'm a soul. So how can I start realizing that I'm a soul?
That's a very nice question. Well, in chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, Rajavidya Rajagulyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha, meaning direct perception. Pratyaksha. Avakdharmam Susukam Kartamavyayam. So the knowledge is meant to bring direct perception, but the way to directly perceive is not with the material senses or the material mind, because they can't reach the realm of spirit. So if that's the cannot, so what's the can? How do I get that realization? The realization comes from purification and hearing in a receiving mode. It's like, there's an electric outlet over there. And supposing I move that little night light or whatever it is and stick my fingers in the socket, I'll directly perceive the electricity. So the direct perception of the soul is by realization that comes through these two things, cleansing and a submissive oral reception. Now we need to undergo a fair amount of cleansing, and we need to learn a different mode of knowledge than the ascending process, because we're accustomed to, by our education, years and years and years and years, the ascending process of knowledge. But this is not that kind. It's a descending process of knowledge. So I could elaborate, but by hearing in a receptive mode or mood, then after some cleansing and the receiving, having developed our receiver capacity for that sound vibration, we can directly perceive. Until then, it remains theoretical. It's on the platform of the mind. Something that I've said is not from Bhagavad Gita or anything, but I say, many people have joined the Hare Krishna movement in their mind. That's nice. And then how do you get beyond the mind? Well, that's your question. Cleansing, the gradual, scrub it up, make the heart clean. Chaita Darpana Marjanam, make the heart cleansed by the chanting of the holy name and the other activities of devotion. And then go on very carefully hearing. Prabhupada uses the word ardent hearing, or receptive hearing, or just hearing. And then that sound vibration that strikes a heart that's clean, then that's like stick your fingers in the electric socket. You get some experience of who you are on the spiritual platform, not just theoretical. Jnanam, vijnanam sahitam. Jnana is theoretical, vijnana is realized. The realization happens the way that I just described. For our primary process is sound, not just the theoretical, but the practical. When it strikes the heart, there's realization. Now we have to wait patiently with faith that this hearing chanting process will carry us there.
Thanks, Maharaj. My second question is, right, I am a person who is like totally like I need a personal, I would say it's like personal connection.
Yeah.
I love to have like personal connection. So when I'm chanting, right, so I don't feel like I'm like totally connected to Krishna. But when I'm like taking class or when I'm sitting and reading some book related to Krishna, I feel like I'm connected to him.
Good.
I feel like I'm able to picturize something. But I'm like having trouble when I'm chanting. I feel like I'm doing mechanically. I'm like...
Welcome to the club. There are many members of this club.
I thought like, is there anything else which I can do which makes me feel like I'm connected to Krishna?
The question you're asking was asked yesterday morning, I think it was. Something like that. Or no, yesterday evening. Mataji with her two children. I'm doing my motherly thing, and I'm doing my kitchen thing, and I'm doing my sadhana thing. But there's no real taste in all of this. I mean, I like being with my kids, but anyway, so to go to the bhakti level, it's a cultivation. It's exactly the word that Prabhupada uses in Nectar Devotion. Bhakti is a sort of cultivation. So cultivate what? Cultivate the mood of wishing that Krishna will be pleased. Now, your message is, I want to, it's like, I want to feel connection, please. But the way to feel connection is that Krishna is pleased. Now, when you're reading Bhagavad Gita, reading scripture with other devotees, you feel something. You feel a connection. But our primary, or reading books, our primary means of deliverance for this age is the holy name. You know that from Hare Nama. So, Eva Kevalam. That's our principle. So I'm not there yet. That means there's something inside here that's blocking that light and that connection with Krishna. There's something inside here. So now what do I do? Let me go on faithfully, doing the things that I feel that connection, borrow strength from that connection and apply it to where I'm not feeling so connected. But continue in the activity, especially because it's recommended the way that this is faith. With faith, I'll continue and aspire for that connection, to have the connection felt. Those coverings have to be removed. I got the same question from a 13-year-old today. She's chanting 16 rounds, but it's not the same something. I don't know what it is. So the answer that I gave her was, the sine curve moves up and down. So sometimes in our bhakti process, we'll experience some down periods and some up periods, some hills and some valleys, and that's just the way it moves. The advice I gave her is, you're 13, what's the long-term goal of your life? Besides, do well in high school and get into, all those temporary things. What's the long-term thing? And when you have an idea, she had already shared what her idea is. So when you have your idea, then you're striving towards that. So my advice to you is, when you put your hand in your bead bag and you start chanting, ask yourself, why am I doing this? This is a sankalpa question. What's the intention? So you're saying the intention is, I want to feel connection. I'm not feeling connection. So maybe you need to adjust the sankalpa. Krishna is merciful, that we were just hearing, and I know it as a fact. I have faith in that fact, but I'm not feeling it. So maybe that the mercy that Krishna wants to give you is for you to direct yourself towards him in a different way than wanting something from him. That is to say, Atakshi Krishna namadi nabhaved grayam indriyai sevan ukehi jivadau. Nice verse. Seva unmukhi hi jivadau. So the first part says, with the indriyas, you're not going to have that sense of connection, but the sense of connection will come when you're in the mood of service, starting with the tongue. So that the service with the tongue means to vibrate, and the test, I'm giving you like 201 session here. The test of vibrating is your hearing. And if you're hearing, you'll feel the connection. If you're just chanting, not in the mood of service, and not hearing the sound, but wanting something, that's not what Krishna wants. I was visiting somebody's home, I won't say where, and their 10-year-old daughter was having a little tantrum about what she didn't want to have on Ekadasi for prasadam. How old are you?
I'm going to be 11.
Going to be 11. Very soon? December 23rd. That's real soon. Almost 11. So she's like fussy with what she eats, and was really just carrying on right in the kitchen about throwing her arms, making that whiny sound. What's going on here? It's not that her mother wants her to eat something she doesn't want to eat. She just just to be really clear. So in our relationship with Krishna, it's the relationship of, he's the master, and this is Prahlad Maharaj, and we're the servant. So let us change the channel to how to best be in the mood of serving Krishna, starting with the tongue and the ear. So you put your hand in your bead bag and, okay, what's my intention here? I want to feel connection. Okay. How to feel that connection? I want to be in the mood of service, and I want to capture the mind by hearing the sound. When you capture the mind, you will capture the mind by hearing the sound. Say it negatively. If you don't hear the sound, you won't capture the mind. Say it positively. If you want to capture the mind, hear the sound. And then this idea of what I want is replaced with the mind becomes captured. In the language of Rupa Goswami, the mind becomes stunned. The senses become inert. When the sound enters the heart, but you have to hear the sound for it to bring about the mind being captured. Otherwise, I don't like Sampadana.
Sure. This is like a little confusing stuff, so which I thought like I'll get some clarification from you.
Okay.
So I find like a lot of things conflicting. Like for example, like let me give you like a high level. So in Bhagavad Gita, right? So Krishna says like you just do whatever you can do everything, but offer the results to me, and you have to be away from everything. So you have to surrender to me. So that is what Krishna says.
But not be away from everything, but to surrender to him.
Yeah, it's a surrender to him. So, but in other things, when we read some scriptures, right? So we see that it is love of Godhead. So it's like, I started thinking like it's like a two conflicting thing.
Why?
Like you just have to surrender to me. You don't have to do anything else.
No. Surrender doesn't mean don't do anything.
Okay.
You have a daughter. And Mom, I'm surrendered to you. I'm not going to school. Well, part of surrendering to me is I'm your mother, and I'm thinking of your welfare as you get older. You're going to need education, right? So, yeah, but I'm surrendered to you, so I'm not going to school. I mean, so there are things that we do. It doesn't mean it's disconnected from surrender to Krishna. We do that which is pleasing to him. That's part of surrender to Krishna.
Let me put it this way. So it's like you have to get out of all the things which you have, like you have your false ego, and
But you replace it with true ego. You just cleanse.
yeah.
You don't throw ego in the garbage can. You still have an identity.
Okay.
That's ego. I mean, who are you?
It's like I have to kill the false ego and get it.
No, you just cleanse it. Just to have to get a dagger and stab it to death. You don't have to have hand-to-hand combat with your false ego. You just, cleanse. Get in the shower every day and you make your body clean, and then you get in your hand in the bead bag and read the book and you make the heart inside clean. That's how the false ego gets dissolved. It's right in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25. You have a Bhagavatam set in your home.
No, we are supposed to give it to her.
One day, you'll get. So, Canto 3, Chapter 25, text number something. By bhakti, the false ego is dissolved. But it's not. You don't need a separate endeavor. You don't need to, get out some dynamite and blow it up. You do bhakti and it dissolves. You have to do battle with it. You'll lose. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. Davyeshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Very difficult struggle against material energy, including the false ego. It's not going to happen. You don't have to do that battle. You take shelter of Krishna and it's dissolved. Mamevi prapadyante mayam etam trantite. You can easily cross beyond it. And what's left is true ego. Who am I? That rises. And the who you are not, it's left to the side. not a struggle against the forces of material energy. You spiritualize things. Right? And you go to school too. Oh. Do you have topics you want to discuss? Okay, if something comes up, you let us know.
This question is from Kasturi Manjari Mataji. If Lord Brahma cannot understand personal form of Krishna, then I feel like there is no hope for me. And according to Janma Karma Chame Divyam verse, the way to go back to Godhead is by understanding his transcendental nature or appearance and activities. But I feel that there's no hope for me because she gave a statement, but maybe what to do.
Well, you could toss in the towel. I quit. Or you could try to more carefully understand what it means when Brahma says he can't understand his personal form. And it means at least two things. It means that not far away are the cowherd boys still having their lunch. And I, Brahma, am not able to have interaction with your form like these residents of Vrindavan have. Although I'm vastly learned and this and that and the other thing, highly elevated, very respected, very powerful, this and that, I don't have that intimacy to interact with you in the way that these residents of Vrindavan interact with you. Because my mood isn't as elevated as theirs. That's one way of understanding what he's, not able, at least at the present, using his present faculties. But if his bhakti becomes cultivated like theirs, then he can. And then the other is having to do with the limit of his opulences, the limit of his power, the limit of his form. So he has this little boy, 5-year-old boy form, and at the same time within him is everything. Now that is not something our cognitive faculties can handle. So you can't either, and as Brahma can't either, nor I can't either. We can notionally talk about it. It's a little like her question. I understand notionally I'm not this body, but I don't have that realization. So Brahma conceptually understands everything is within Krishna, but he doesn't have that full realization. Although he's seen it. What's the limit to this form of yours? So that's the expression of Brahma. Now, what does that leave you? He gives the answer to how one can understand Krishna. That's through the bhakti process. And it's going to come up again and again and again in the course of the rest of his prayers. The highlight feature of the bhakti process. So we heard from him what that bhakti process is made up of. It's dedication of Tanu Van Manovir, body, words, and mind, to the topics of the Supreme Lord. By that effort, dedication, and dedicating the activities to the Supreme Lord, then whatever Krishna wishes to disclose to you, or to Brahma, or to me, that he'll disclose to us. And that much we'll understand. Through the medium of bhakti. And otherwise we won't. That's the hope for you. The bhakti process is the hope for you and me and all of us.
This question is from Jyotirmaya Mataji. Guru Maharaj, you said that the suffering for pure devotees is a special mercy of Krishna to them to completely leave all the material attachment and go back to him. Is that the same response for the people who ask why bad things happen to good people?
Not exactly, because good people, devotees are, those in the mode of goodness are not necessarily devotees. Good people are good people, mode of goodness people, and devotees are at least aspiring transcendentalists. So it's not a one-to-one correlation. Good people get their good karma. Devotees get the root cause of fruitive activities removed, which may or may not come in the form of tribulation.
This is Sanchari's question. Guru Maharaj, what is the role of patience in spiritual life, especially in developing that connection?
That connection.
I think it probably came
Your feed off from your question. That connection. The role of faith is
Role of patience.
patience. Well, patience is resting on faith. Because you can be patient if you have faith. And if you don't have faith, you can't have patience. You become restless. Patience also, in addition to faith, it's resting on faith, but patience is to allow the kindness and controllership of Krishna to run its course. Krishna is not our order supplier, but in course of time, the merciful Krishna will be merciful because he's merciful. A lesson in patience for me is when I was young, my father had a liking for outdoors things like gardening and this thing and that. So he liked to work in the garden, and one of the things that we had a big backyard when I was very young, and he planted a peach tree. So we liked, the family liked fruits. We would go and pick cherries and strawberries and blackberries. We had that outdoorsy thing. So he planted a peach tree in the backyard. So I remember a little boy looking up at the peach tree and wondering, where are the peaches? Mm-hmm. This is on the topic of patience. And I was told, don't worry, the peaches will come. So next season, where's the peaches? No peaches. Don't worry, peaches will come. And the third year, it was little green things. Oh, here come the peaches. No. They're not going to ripen yet. You have to wait another year. So the fourth year, there was so many peaches on that peach tree. So patience is allowing nature to take its course, or allowing the hand of Krishna to move things as Krishna moves things. He can move things quickly if he wants, but commonly he moves things how he wants to move things. And that's where patience comes in. It's in part it's faith, but it's allowing Krishna to do it in his own sweet will, in his own sweet time, in his own natural way. And it's again resting on faith, but it's another dimension. It can happen whenever Krishna wants it to happen, but it will happen. Then we have patience and lots of peaches.
This question is from Satyavrata Prabhu. Here we see Lord Brahma honestly expresses his heart for his mistakes
Yes.
and gets Krishna's mercy. Whereas a conditioned soul struggles to be purely honest and loses the same mercy.
Yes.
What blocks a conditioned soul to be purely honest?
Dishonesty. Deception. That was the Putana message that we just spent the Thanksgiving holiday on that topic. According to Jiva Goswami, deception or dishonesty is one of the first symptoms or signs of anarthas in the heart. One deludes others, and even in fact, one deludes oneself. One doesn't even know that one is deluding oneself. It's the nature of anarthas in the heart, and they're very difficult to remove.
This is
Yeah, something stirring over here. When you're ready, I'll call on you again in a few minutes. You ready now? No, okay.
So this question is from Kishore Gundeli Prabhu. How can one measure one's progress in Krishna consciousness, or should one not try to do that and just keep surrendering to Krishna?
Well, we keep surrendering to Krishna anyways, but I like Bhaktivinoda Thakur's expression. Two very simple measures is attraction for matter slackens and attraction for Krishna increases. We have our tendencies, back to this question, the conditioned tendencies to come back to our comfort zone and our familiar set of sense objects and interacting with them in a way that we feel contented and comfortable, although it's not comfortable. So a measure of spiritual advancement is the attraction for those things, or at least some of those things, starts to fade. And in place of the attraction for those things, spiritual attraction becomes more prominent, specifically liking to hear topics. Vishvaksena Kata Ruchi. That's a sign that we're progressing.
And he has another question. I thought the scripture says for any sins performed in this life or previous life, we will have to go through the fruits of those actions. But when one surrenders, when once surrendered to Krishna, all those will be forgiven. Is that his causeless mercy also?
Yes? Yeah, can you turn the speakers in my direction so I can hear better? Okay.
And this question is from Girivaradhari Prabhu. Question regarding Krishna killing Putana. Krishna killed her, sucking out her life air. For Putana it was painful, but good part was Lord was in front of her. In Kali Yuga, how can a sadhaka prepare for his last moment if it is painful, as attention will be toward pain but not Lord? How to prepare as sadhaka prepare for this?
Well, Krishna is very kind, once again, and persons who are recipients of Krishna's kindness, that the pain factor is diminished by the connection with Krishna factor, which is, comes back to your question of feeling connected. When you are connected, Krishna will help you feel connected and lift you above the pain threshold, just by that sense of being connected. It just works that way. Now, we're dependent upon Krishna's mercy for that to happen, but we're dependent upon Krishna's mercy for anything to happen. As that sense of So how can we prepare or qualify ourselves? Work on that sense of connection. The very first question we heard. But that sense of connection, what is that? It's the mood of submission and service. That's the connection.
Online, that's all good.
Okay. Last chance over here. Okay. Yes. Okay.
So I was thinking about accepting like some adversities or challenges as one's karma versus becoming the punching bag. How to discriminate or where to put the stop sign?
Where accepting something is coming doesn't mean you're passive. The acceptance means you now have freedom to contemplate in the mode of goodness, what are my options for what might be appropriate in this circumstance. And it can be stoicism. It can just be like, that's the way it is. That's an option. Or say something, do something, and the varieties of things you could say, the varieties of things you can do. But, it starts with acceptance. This is coming my way. And like, say, in Brahma's case, he is offering prayers. That's what he's doing. And someone else could do something else and something else. You're in the position of making choices about how you respond to a circumstance. It's not just being passive.
I missed a question online. This is from Prema Manjari Mataji's daughter. I know that the mind should be controlled by intelligence. How are the mind and intelligence different from each other?
Well, it takes intelligence to know the distinction. But according to Bhagavad Gita and our Sankhya system, you can find out some more about it if you want by reading Canto 3, Chapter 26, that Sankhya section. But the function of the mind is discerning or discriminating between one thing and another thing. That's what intelligence does. It's a discerning faculty. Over there in the corner is my jacket, and over there by the door are my shoes, and the shoes go on my feet, and the jacket go on my back. That's discerning capacity. Where is it and what to do with it? A child doesn't know the difference between food and their brother's ear. Anything is food. Or their shoe, or anything goes into the mouth. So intelligence is a discerning faculty, and the mind is where we carry conceptions, with the assistance of the intelligence. But another function of the mind is thinking, feeling, willing. We contemplate something. Senses bring information to the mind contemplates the sense perception. Not only seeing, but hearing and smelling and tasting, etc. The senses bring information to the mind. We process it by contemplating it and develop some feelings towards that and willing to do something in some form or fashion. The intelligence then becomes the instrument that figures out how to take care of that thing that we're willing. So there's interaction, but they have different functions. And the intelligence is more subtle and superior. Okay. We're done for the evening. If you think of something later, you can ask later, okay? Okay.